In this video, I want to talk about ISKCON. And ISKCON is a society of people trying to become pure devotees. So naturally, in a society of people trying to become pure because we're human and we have human frailties and human limitations, we're bound not to be perfect. That has to be understood. And we will make mistakes. But, as Srila Prabhupada said, stay in ISKCON and try to make it better. So if we leave ISKCON, we can't really make ISKCON any better because we're outside and we have no influence on it. And we need to work within it to make it better. Now, I'm going to read something to you that I wrote. And I think it's an interesting meditation for all of us to meditate on because it does happen, what I'm saying here. There's never a situation in ISKCON that's so bad that there isn't something you can do to make it worse. Let me read that again. There's never a situation in ISKCON that's so bad that there isn't something you can do to make it worse. What does that mean? Well, there may be a situation in ISKCON that's bad. You could make it worse. And we've seen that. Sometimes things are bad, and then the people who do the bad things are condemned, often unfairly, and it disturbs people more than they're already disturbed. It doesn't help to solve the situation. There's no suggestion practically how this situation can be improved, how we can avoid this problem in the future. There's just condemnation, which disturbs people, and it makes things worse. Probably you've seen this. Condemnation does not improve anything. So we do see things that go wrong, and we want to think in terms of, okay, what can we learn from this? How can we make it better? How can we prevent this from happening in the future without becoming offensive? That's important. So if I'm just condemning ISKCON, the ISKCON is no longer Prabhupada's movement, there are no pure devotees, etc., etc., what good does that do to ISKCON? How does that make it any better? And I've often said the real problem in ISKCON is I'm not a pure devotee. So you can point out that there are few pure devotees. Some people say there are no pure devotees. But the real problem is I'm not a pure devotee. That's the real problem. That's how we should think. And I want to add one other thought to this, because definitely there are a lot of people who have looked at ISKCON's problems and have certainly done things to make them worse. So nothing got so bad that they couldn't make it worse. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be in that position. I don't want to have to face Prabhupada and say, Prabhupada, I made your movement worse. Now there's one other thought, and this is interesting, and I don't want to say it's controversial, and I'm going to try to balance it. It could be, but I want to make a disclaimer first that I'm not condoning misbehavior. There are situations within our movement in which a respected senior person who has done years and years of valuable service and years of strict sadhana does something morally very bad. And that person is punished. That person may be restricted from visiting temples. In the case of child abuse, restricted from being in situations where their children, they may have to give up their sannyas, they may have to give up their guruship. And these things often need to be done to protect the society and also to sanction or discipline the individual for their own benefit. There may be a tendency when this happens for us to see how this person has been disciplined and condemn them, or condemn them severely for what they've done. And in some cases, yes, it's understandable that they would be severely condemned. I had a thought the other day, and I just want to share it, and you may agree with it, you may not, and if you don't, that's fine, because I know this thought may be controversial in some situations. It was a thought that came to my mind, that oftentimes this person who did something very bad has done many, many, many years of good things. And so it's unfortunate, obviously, that they've made a black mark against themselves. But still, at the same time, I think, there needs to be some sense of appreciation for this one fact, that if a person has done something very bad, that means most likely they were struggling with that problem ever since they became a devotee. Whatever that mistake is that they made, obviously that was something impregnated within their heart long before they came to ISKCON. And it means for so many years they struggled with it, but they controlled it. That it wasn't easy. And so I was just thinking about that, the person who did something horrible. That means for all the years before he finally gave in to that temptation, he was struggling to control it, and he actually controlled it, which in a sense is glorious, but it had a very inglorious ending because he couldn't control it entirely. But that thought just came to me, that at least I can appreciate that for so many years he didn't give in to that, or she didn't give in to that temptation. And I know it's hard for some of you to say, well, why should I appreciate that person now? What they did was so bad. And I understand that. But I think at the same time, we can see that that is a Vaishnava way of thinking. And Prabhupada was very forgiving. And as I've often said, condoning and forgiving are two different things. And appreciating and condoning are not necessarily the same. I can appreciate this person did so much service. I also understand they did many bad things. I don't condone those bad things. I will tell you those are bad things. They should be sanctioned. They should be punished. I agree. At the same time, I can see they did 30 years of tremendous service, and they kept that temptation under control. And I was just thinking that at least that credit that much should be recognized. And I think that was Prabhupada's mood. Something to think about. Hare Krishna.